YouTube, this is a response to a lot of people putting on, do you believe in reincarnation? And after giving it a lot of thought, I thought I might tell you why I believe in reincarnation. Ages ago, I started having like recurrent dreams or visions or whatever you want to call them, of me sitting in this garden. Behind me was a house, and it was like, you know, like the old Tudor houses, and they're like black and white. But this house was like that, but it wasn't white and black. The beams were a brown colour, and the colour of the outside of the house was like a sandy colour. As I thought, well, you know, it's just a dream, and I didn't think anything of it. And I'm in this garden anyway, and I'm looking down into some water, and I see myself, but I'm not really me. I've got dark hair. I'm a lot younger, and I look round, and there's a man riding towards me on a large grey horse, you know, a man with a beard and a hat and sort of olden day dress, you know. And he says, "Hello, Beth, I've got to go and see our good king." And I say, "Okay, I'll see you later," and then that's sort of it. And I kept having that same recurrent dream, and I didn't think anything of it. And one day I got up and I started watching the Travel Channel. I never watch a Travel Channel because I'm not really even interested in travelling that much. And this house popped up on screen, and it was the house that I'd seen in these dreams or visions, whatever. And of course I was sort of a bit shocked. The thing that stood out to my mind most of all was the colour of the house was still the colour that I'd seen it, you know, if I'd have been there sort of hundreds of years ago. And apparently you can actually visit this house now. I'm not really into history. I wasn't brought up in this country. I lived abroad when I was a child, so it's not like a childhood memory where I could have sort of been there on a trip, or you know, I could have watched TV and seen it before. I've not even got any interest in this sort of thing. So anyway, one of my friends got on the internet because I took down the name of this house, and she said, "Oh, it belongs to a Dr. Hall." And so I said, well, okay then. I mean, when I saw this man in the dream, I don't know if I mentioned, he had like what looked like dried blood on him, and I thought he was a butcher. But anyway, she said, no, he's a doctor, and I just I didn't really think any more of it at that point. But then I started thinking about it, and I thought, well, you know, hundreds of years ago, wouldn't doctors have been like butchers? Because obviously there was no anaesthetic or anything, and they used to get blood all over the place. And I did a bit more research into where the house was, and it's only 3 miles from Warwick Castle, which at that point I believe there was a king on the throne, and he I don't know if they owned it. You know, the castle was of the sovereignty, so it all sort of figures. Now there's no reason why I should think of any of this. And it's all quite coincidental. Oh, another thing, when I said the man called me Beth, apparently this man's daughter was called Elizabeth as well, which is another coincidence. So, you know, decide for yourself if you think that, you know, yeah, I'm making it up. Well, I don't think I could be really. I mean, how could I get all those things? Another thing that I did do, I drew the house in my mind. So I had a drawing of the house before I'd actually seen it on the TV. So how would I do that? Well, it's not likely, is it really? So anyway, I've been thinking of doing a YouTube vlog on it. And so I thought before I do that, I'll actually ring up the place. So I spoke to the guy this morning. I don't know if he's a tour guide or he just talks to people who ring up about this house. And I told him about it all, and he said, well, it is quite unusual, the amount of detail that I gave him, because I wanted to know if there were monarchs at the time. I mean, I'm not big on history, but he said, yeah, everything fits into place. And another thing is, I said, well, the house looks a bit different. And I said, well, at the time it was like the 1600s and the house looked smaller. I said, so, you know, the house is bigger. And he said, well, you know, he said, after about 1700 the house was added on. He said, so if you remember it from back then, the house would have been smaller. So decide for yourselves.